I've looked at quite a few to-do lists, to-do managers, whatever you want to call them, but this one is a little bit strange. It describes itself as a mix between a to-do list and a terminal new page. I think the best way to explain this is just to demonstrate it. This is Please. As I said, it's not just a to-do list, it also shows the date, the time, and also this inspirational quote. Now, the quote is going to be different every single time. This one is from Francis Bacon. It is impossible to love and to be wise. Let's see what the next one is. This one is from Eleanor Roosevelt. You must do the things you think you cannot do. And every time you open it, it is going to pick something from the list that's built inside of it. Now, one thing that does slightly bother me is while the data is stored in a JSON file, the JSON file isn't stored in a user directory. The one thing that does really bother me is even though the quotes are stored in a JSON file, that JSON file is installed alongside the application itself, so it's not in an easily accessible user directory. So being a new page, the author suggests adding it to something like your shell config. In my case, that is my ZSHRC, but maybe you're using something like, I don't know, bash for your bash RC, you're using fish or anything else like that. So now every time I open up a new shell, Please is going to run. Now the only issue with doing it this way is because of the giant bar along the top, it is going to break the formatting a little bit. But we can address that in other ways. I'll get to that in a bit though. Let's look at how it actually functions. If you're like me and for videos you go and resize stuff, well, yeah, it doesn't work, but if you just generally have a font set and a font size and you never change it, that's going to work great. But there are ways to address this, which I'll go into a bit later. For now though, let's look at how it actually functions. Now the name it's going to display isn't the name of the current user. In my case, my user is called Brodie. When you first open up the application, it's going to prompt you for the name you want to be using. After that point, if you go and run please call me and then pass in the name you want to use, let's go and change that to Brodie, then it goes and changes that name over. Now as you'll see, it says that name instead. Now all of that stuff is kind of just fluff and doesn't really matter. The important thing is the way the to-do list aspect works. And while not being the most complex to-do list out there, it certainly does the job. So if we go and run please add, and then the name of the task. Let's say, record video on please. And then it's going to add that into the list. And when it adds it, it's going to be assigned a number, and it also says the task isn't done. Now, do keep in mind, the number we see here isn't going to be a unique identifier. This is just its position in the list. Now, off recording, I've added in a couple of extra tasks. Let's say I want to mark one of these as done. The way we do that is please do, and then the number in the list. Let's say, for example, number 2. That one now has green text, and the icon has been changed over to a tick. If you want to go and unmark or undo that one, that is done with the undo command. Now, let's say for one of these tasks, you realize it shouldn't actually be on the list, or you don't actually want to go and do it. We can go and get rid of this with the delete command. Let's say I want to delete number, maybe 3? No, let's go with number 1. So please delete 1, and now that one is gone. And if we have any tasks marked as completed, if we go and do please clean, then that is going to remove all of those completed tasks from the list. There's no need to go and delete them one by one. Obviously, you could go and do that, but especially if you have like 5, 10 tasks on your list, this is much easier. Now, being a sub-command system as opposed to an option system, they're not going to be the most efficient things to write out. It's not like you're doing please-d, please-a for add and delete and things like that. But being sub-commands, it makes them very easy to remember. If you don't like the way the sub-commands work, you could always just go and alias it in your shell and make them shorter. Maybe like please-a or just PA or whatever you want to do. Now, if you don't care about the whole inspirational quote thing, and you just want to use it as a to-do list, you're in luck, because there is a sub-command to do exactly that. That is going to be show tasks, and all it does is shows the tasks and nothing else. So you could go and add this into your shell config instead, and just see that. personally, if I was going to run this on a day-to-day basis, I probably wouldn't use it in this form. I kind of like the inspirational quote. Now you might say, oh, that's just bloat, why would you want that? Keep in mind, before I was running pfetch every time I opened up my shell, I was using neofetch. Neofetch is really, really slow. When I was using it on my old laptop, there were times it actually took like half a second to a second to actually let me start using the terminal. Now, sadly, there are no built-in sorting functions like a alphabetical order, a priority, and things like that. But you can go and manually reorder stuff. This is done with the move subcommand. All you do is just pass in the two indexes you want to swap, let's say 1 and 3. I feel like 3 right now should be the most important thing on my list. And now, buy Christmas presents is the top of the list. Now, there's not much in the way of configuration. So all of the configuration is stored inside of the config folder, inside of the please folder, and then the config.json. This also includes all of the tasks, so if you want to, you could go and reorder task in here as well. That's totally fine. This might make it easier to do things like alphabetical sorting and things like that. But in here, we basically just have the time format, the name, and then whether the initial setup has been done. The initial setup being setting your name and things like that. Now, the time format can be changed with a command as well. That is done most sensibly with the please change time format command. And now it's in 24-hour time rather than incorrect time. And if you ever feel the need to just wipe out everything and then go back to a clean slate, this can be done with please setup. And it's going to clear out all of your settings, all of your tasks, all of that fun stuff, and then prompt you for your name, and then start up the application again. Now, being a Python application, at this stage there is a couple of ways to install it. You can either grab it from pip, or in the case of Arch Linux, there's also an AUR package available, or you can just grab it from the releases section and then set it up like that. Now, compared to running pfetch, every single time I start up my terminal, this seems like at least somewhat of a useful use of that space. Maybe it would be better just to have nothing there, but I'm certainly not going to do that. Those CPU cycles aren't really that valuable. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Is this an application you would see yourself using, or are you happy using whatever else you're using, or maybe you're just a pen and paper person? I would love to know. So if you like this video, I'm going to go and like the video, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, go check out my Patreon, subscribe to the Robertson, linked in the description down below. I've got a podcast called Tech Over Tea. I've got a gaming channel called Brodie Robertson Plays. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.